Okay, we're back, and this is part 2 of What Every Woman Should Know, book number 14 of the Little Blue Book series, written by Margaret H. Sanger. And here we go. Part 3, Puberty, Part 1. Puberty is the age at which the girl or boy, hormones capable of reproduction. Writers differ in the use of the word. Many use it to denote the whole period of time during which the procreative ability continues, which is usually from the 14th to the 45th year. There are still other uses of the word, but we will use it as the age when the boy or girl becomes sexually matured or ripe. The first indication of which is the menstrual flow in the girl and seminal emission in the boy. When we speak of puberty, it is necessary to have some knowledge of the organs of reproduction and their structure. So far as physiology taught in the public schools has not treated of these organs, when trying to get books on this subject, a girl is met with the question, "Are you a nurse or physician?" If she is not, the books are denied her. Remember, this was written in the 1920s. Consequently, the average girl is kept in ignorance of the function of these organs and is at a loss to know where to go for clean information. It is necessary, therefore, to give this information here, without mincing words. If there is any benefit to be derived from the following discussion, it is very simple for the girl to harm For the girl to learn the correct names of these organs and call them by such names. Of these organs, they are the ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, vagina, and breasts. The breasts are not always classed as reproductive organs, but later writers recognized their relation to them, and as such, they are now included. Let us first take the ovaries, which are two small internal glands, invisible of course, about the size and shape of an almond, placed on each side of the extreme lower part of the woman's abdomen. They are embedded in large ligaments and tissues, which also help to hold the uterus, the womb, in place. Inside the ovaries are thousands of little eggs called ovules, which have been there since the birth of the girl. It is claimed there are from 20 to 50,000 ovules in the ovary at birth. The work of the ovary is to develop and mature these eggs and send them on to be fertilized at the time of puberty. These eggs are all in different stages of development. Those in the center of the ovary ripen first and burst through the outer cover of the ovary, which is like a capsule, and at the time of the menstruation become swollen and congested. The ovule is caught by the fringy ends of the fallopian tubes, which are in a constant latching motion, sending the egg through the tube to the uterus. The fallopian tubes are about 4 1/2 inches in length and join the ovaries to the upper and outer angle of the uterus. Its duties are to convey the ova, or eggs, from the ovary to the uterus. Sometimes the sperm cell from the male comes up into the tube to meet the egg, and it is fertilized there. The union of the two cells usually occurs in the outer end of the fallopian tube, but this is not the nest nature. This is not the nest nature has prepared for the egg's development, and unless it returns into the uterus, it causes serious trouble and an operation is necessary. Impregnation in the tube is very rare, but it is possible. The uterus, often spoken of as the womb, is a hollow, muscular organ into which the egg comes from the tubes to be fertilized, 4 to 8 days from the ovaries to uterus. After fertilization, it remains here, is nourished and developed until it can grow no more. Then it is thrown out by contraction of the muscles, the process we call the birth of a child. The uterus is about 3 inches long, and its shape is like a pear with a small end downward. It is not fastened to any of the bony parts, but is held in place by the ligaments and tissues, which also allow it to move with different movements of the body. One of the most interesting facts about the uterus, which is so small in its cavity, is that it can stretch to accommodate the growing child within it to a length of from 19 to 21 inches. This is because it is 1 1/2 inches. Turn the page. It is 1 1/2 inches thick and composed of layers of muscles, which are tough and yet elastic. At the upper side of the uterus are the openings into the fallopian tubes. At the small end of the uterus is another opening leading into the vagina. It is through this opening that the sperm of the male comes in order to fertilize the egg. Thus you can readily see the uterus is the nest or cradle where the egg is to live until it becomes strong enough to subsist on other nourishment. The vagina is a muscular tube-like passage which extends from the small part of the uterus, called the neck, to the outer surface of the body, where its opening is usually partially closed in virgins by a thin membrane or film known as the hymen. The walls of the vagina are also very thick and elastic. This is sometimes called the birth canal. The hymen was for years a subject of discussion in the professional world among physicians. In my talks to girls, I find it a subject of great interest and often anxiety to many of them, for the average girl seems possessed with the old idea that the presence of the hymen is necessary to marital happiness. Not long ago, its absence was considered cause for serious discord between husband and wife, and I have been told that under the old law, its absence was sufficient grounds for divorce. Fortunately, modern science has thrown some light on this subject and disproved the theory that its absence was necessary due to a woman having had sexual relations. There are causes on record of women who have lived 4 and 5 years in prostitution who were found with perfectly preserved hymen. It is important to know that it differs in size and shape in women. Also, that in some women it has been entirely absent since birth. Many little girls and babies have no hymen. It can be destroyed by accident or injured by operations or examinations where the physician did not use the greatest care. In some women, it is easily destroyed. In others, it is more difficult. To find the hymen unruptured when he comes to find... wait. It's not at all uncommon for a physician to find the hymen unruptured when he comes to deliver the firstborn child. all of which goes to prove that neither its presence nor its absence is necessarily the sign of virginity. Excuse me. Puberty, Part 2. Beginning with puberty, the eggs from the ovary are expelled as they ripen or mature. This process is called ovulation and occurs about every 28 days. It is closely related to menstruation, but it is not menstruation, as you will soon learn. Moment. Some writers atone, as you will soon learn. Some writers say the egg is expelled at other times than at the menstrual periods. Other writers asserts that one passes every 6 hours. Alternating male and female. There are many views and ideas on the subject of ovulation, but the most generally accepted theory is that the egg is expelled from the ovary every 28 days. When the egg ripens, the ovary discharges it and sends it on to find its way through the tubes to the uterus. Here we find the blood supply of the uterus greatly increased in preparation for this egg. We find that the inner lining of the uterus becomes very soft and smooth so that the egg can very easily find a place in which to lodge itself after it has been fertilized. We also find that the cells swell and multiply, all in preparation to welcome and nourish the incoming egg or ovum. If the egg is fertilized by the male, it then remains in the uterus to develop. If not, it is thrown out. Together with all the preparation made to receive it. The cells burst and discharge their contents. The mucus, blood, cells, and all come away in what is called the menstrual flow. This process goes on every 4 weeks in girls after they reach the age of puberty, and continues at regular periods as long as the egg is not fertilized until the reproductive age is over, which is usually between the 45th and 50th year. If, however, the egg is fertilized, the menstrual flow ceases and this blood supply goes to nourish the new life in the uterus. It does not appear again until after the birth of the child, and usually ceases while the child depends upon the milk from the mammary glands. The age at which this process, menstruation, first takes place in girls differs in individuals. Climate has some effect upon it, for girls in warm or southern climates mature earlier than in colder places. In this climate temperature zone, the average girl reaches puberty at 14 years of age. Some have been known to reach it as early as the 11th, and others not until the 18th year. All in the same place, and yet normal and healthy, which shows that there is no reason for anxiety if the girl does not menstruate at 14, provided she is developing normally and is in good health. During the first few years after its appearance, the periods are likely to be irregular. This is because the sexual organs are not fully developed. Often the period does not occur after the first time for 3, 5, or even 8 months, and sometimes not for a year. This irregularity continues for 2 or 3 years. Cases of girls coming from Europe have been known where the period was perfectly established over there, but after arriving in this climate, the menstrual flow did not occur again for a year or more. Usually, this irregularity lasts only a few months, and When once it has become regular, there should be no worry over its arrival a day or two early or late. The length of time the period lasts differs in women also. The average length of time is 4 to 5 days, yet there are women in which it lasts fully a week, and others but a few hours. The length of time should not be of as much concern as the amount of discharge which is expelled each time. It is of course difficult to estimate this, but physicians claim that more than 3 protectives in 24 hours should not be used. In all women, the flow is most profuse during the first 2 days. The care of the health should receive more attention during the first 2 days than is usually given it. To the girl who has to work from early morning until late at night, these two days are usually hard on her nerves and on her general health. And I regret that I have no new messages for her to help lighten the burden which the present atrocious industrial system makes so hard for her. Physicians say there should be no need of interrupting the regular routine of the day at this time more than any other. There are a few strong women to whom this period makes no difference. But the average girl in this country spends 2 days of pain and discomfort. Out of 1,000 girls questioned, only 16% were entirely free from pain, which proves that the time has come for a woman to cease being ashamed of this function and insist upon at least 1 day's rest at the expense of her employer. Some of the old biblical ideas instilled into men's minds that a woman is unclean at this time have been the cause of much hardship and many sneers endured by the women during these periods. The consequence has been that she will bear the most intense pain rather than allow the men working with her to suspect that she is menstruating. It is all nonsense and wrong, and it is time women should band together in one great sisterhood to protect one another from being slowly drained and exhausted of their powers of motherhood for the benefit of their exploiters. Women who belong to unions should demand that this day be given them and their sisters. Girls continue to suffer pains in the abdomen and back, pains running down the limbs, headache, often nausea, besides being nervous and irritable, yet hang on a strap in an uncrowded streetcar, stand or sit all day in the shop or at the machines and utter no protest. They know, too, that they are not alone in this suffering, for they see about them day after day hundreds of other women enduring the same pain, yet they remain silent. There is one thing to remember, and that is that the greatest strain comes on the nervous system at this period. One of the best ways to assist in building up the nervous strength is in sleep and rest, and for the girl who cannot remain away from the shop, fearing to lose her job, the next best thing is to get to bed early, for there's nothing that builds up the exhausted nerves like sleep. Fortunately, the girl at school has some consideration shown her at this time, and it is well that this is so. For until the period becomes established, there is special danger of overdoing in schoolwork, which often causes St. Vitus dance and other nervous disorders. What is St. Vitus dance? I believe in the regular warm tub bath or cold sponge, followed by a good rubbing all over the body at this time, together with 9 or 10 hours sleep, and light, nourishing food without stimulant. If the bowels are active, it often lessens the pain considerably, and it is very important that every girl attend to this, if she has any regard for her health. A good shit. There are a few abnormalities in the menstrual function which I will not take the space to state here. Before leaving the subject, I wish to impress upon the reader that most abnormalities, such as too little or too much flow or very great exhausting pain, are usually caused not by any disease or the generative organs, but more often by the disturbance of the general health, which can often be treated and cured by building up the system. And I think we'll stop there. And we'll continue on in part 3.